Hi there. So today I'm going to explain how to sculpt a dragon. So today we're going to use the Sculpey. It's a polymer clay, which means that you have to bake it. A great advantage of this is that you can take your time working on it since it won't dry out. You only hardens when you bake it. So what we're going to start off by doing first is you have to paint your nails. That way you sculpt better, obviously. That's a smart thing to do. So you grab the clay. Usually you want to knead it out before you want to work it. When it comes out of the box, it's pretty hard. But if you squish it a lot, it becomes squishy. So you grab a chunk. And I already have the armature here. The whole point of this is it'll act like a skeleton. And it'll hold the shape of it. It'll be like a skeletons and this is flesh. So exactly what it means. So grab a chunk and just plump it on there. And this is called additive sculpting. So it means exactly what it sounds like. You're adding material onto more material when the other thing is subtractive, which is like when you're working with marble, you rip off chunks of it to get the shape you want, but now we're just adding clay to make the shape we want. And this is the messiest part. The whole idea is you want to cover as much as you can, well, cover all of it. That way you have a good surface to start working on. You want to work on that basic shape, and then after that you could work on the finer details. So you see I'm squishing and pulling the clay however I want it. With your thumbs, your hands are the best tools for this. And for today, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I'm going to use a popsicle stick and a stamp, which is pretty cheating, because what you do is it has a bunch of holes right here. You plump it on the clay, and suddenly you have scales. So that's a very easy way to get a lot of detail very fast. And if you're lazy like me, it's going to save you a lot of time. So here we made it to the head, and this is when you want to work. You can't really slap it on. You want to pretend you're using muscles. So I like to start off with lower jaw. You see how I have a big clump to make like a lower jaw, kind of like a. And you see I'm pulling the clay towards where I want, kind of smooth it out. And for today, I'm going to make a pretty simple, fun dragon. The inside is, what I'd like to do is just make it as smooth as you can in there, because it's going to be fleshy. You won't have to worry about making scales in that. Roof of the mouth. We'll give it a little nub at the top right here. Back of the head, we'll need another lump. And the armature also helps you save a lot on the clay, since could get expensive if you use a lot of it. You're saving a lot of material by using this. It also has a plus benefit of when you bake it, it'll be more evenly heated, because it takes, like a baked potato, it takes longer for a baked potato heat through the middle. But this way it's hollow, and you only have to cook like an inch or so thickness of clay. So that helps a lot. So you see here, I have most of it covered, and at this point, just cover it more. And with our thumbs, because they're big and fat and wide, we could start smoothing it all out, getting the basic shape. So I'm going to make a ridge down the middle right here. Make another ridge right here. See how I push the clay to meet in the center, and that will make like a little mountain range kind of ridge. And again with the other side. Okay, so now it looks like the lower jaw is pretty thin. So I'm gonna bulk that up a little more, give it a little bit of a butt chin maybe. And again with the thumbs, kind of give it some definition to the lower jaw. Okay. And now I'm just checking because I want to hang it on the wall once I'm done with it. So I want to make sure I like how it looks like, because now's the best time to move it around and change it to whatever position you want. Okay, now let's start with the head. So I'm going to use my thumbs and squish right where I think the eyeballs should be. And now it looks like a funny little googly-eyed monster. And let's make it kind of look like a dinosaur. If you ever notice on the skulls, like they have a little indent right here. So let's do that. And then smooth it out a little bit more with your thumbs. Let's make another ridge on the back of the head. All right, let's leave that for now. And so it's good. What we want to do is work on the hardest thing to work on. Well, so if we start working on the neck, we're probably a bad idea because we're going to grab that a lot to like sculpt on the head. So we'll start at the delicate spots first, which is the inside of the mouth. I'm going to do thumb, shove it deep in there, squish in there, and with my thumb, do another little ridge in there. And then here I have my assistant cat, of course, judging me. Just make another ridge down this throat. That'll be like a flappy neck ridge. Kind of like an iguana. And let's see. Excuse me, cat. So before I started, I baked a bunch of teeth, which is you just grab some clay, roll it up, and throw it in the oven at like 250 for a few minutes, and you'll get these. So let's dump some of that out and look for some good teeth we want to use. So this looks like it'd be a good canine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to snap it in half. Or I could just grab scissors. Hopefully it doesn't go flying. And it went flying. Here it is. So what I'm going to do is shove it right in the clay. And I want to squish the clay around it so it gets a good hold of it. Oh, got a bunch of lint. See, once again, squish it in there. Now you want to shove them in deep because once you bake it, it might be hard. You might have to glue it back in there if you knock it down a bit. No, you could be what I like to do is kind of be uneven with it. I want to imagine it's like an old dragon. You could come up with whatever story you want, but you with an older messed up dragon, it'd be a lot easier to hide your mistakes. So that's what I'm gonna say. This is an old dragon missing a few teeth. Just like that. That's how they go missing. And you can add as many or as little as you want. Let me try to grab one over here. Let me grab my cat out of the way too. There goes another one flying. Oh, and how did I almost forget? It needs a tongue. So what I'm going to do is grab another little bit of clay, extend it out to like a cone, squeeze it flat. Then we'll grab the popsicle stick and we'll do this little slice down the middle just by pushing it like that. We do a few more like that. Let's use the blender edge. And we'll slap it at the back of the throat. And there's the tongue sits. Let's throw a few more teeth in there, then we'll start moving on. Then I have these really thin ones, which are fun to throw every now and then. Little baby tooth. I think that'll look great at the front right here. If you want, you could be very even with them, but as you see, I'm just kind of running through this. And I'm going to call that enough teeth. Now I'm going to do some of the mouth membranes, which I'll grab another little bit, squish it to like a triangle. And with my thumbs, kind of blend that all in there. Up the return of the cat. Her name's Potato, by the way. My sweet little tater. Excuse me. We'll grab the popsicle stick. Oh, that's where all the hair comes from, my cat. And what I'm doing here is I'm applying the lower and upper jaw through the membrane. And I could just scratch in some detail like that. And we'll do the same to the other side. And you just stroke it like that. Okay, let's grab another little bit of clay and start working a little more on the head. So I'll grab a little thin noodle like that, and that'll be like the lower eye socket. Guess that's the best way to explain it. Do the same to the other side. Then we'll do a big one on the top. Another big one right here. And then what we're going to do is we'll grab the eyes. So these, just like the teeth, rolled up a little ball, zero in the oven for a few minutes, and you get these. So you could grab them and squish them right in. See there, just like that, it gives it a little furrowed brow. And what I'm going to start doing, I'll do the big scales. So shove it in like that. You're just pushing the clay. And you could repeat that kind of pattern to give more of a scaled look. So I'm kind of making like little rectangles. And see like that how I push it. So this way, it's kind of like a ramp. Push down right here. That way this part sticks up. Do it with the next one. Makes it pop out a little more. Let's do that to the other side before I forget. So line, line, line. Let's do another line right there. There's a rectangle. Then we could push down right here at the front. And just with that simple little pattern, you got scales. And let's do that with the eyebrow as well. So line, 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 line. And you could already see how it's going to be a rectangle. Push down like that. And it's a lot easier when you make these a lot bigger. When you get smaller, it takes a lot more time. Ooh, let's make some wrinkles. So what we'll do like that is just push it down. And you see how I make a little line by pushing these just like that to make a little wrinkle. Let's do that to the other side. So we'll do line, line, push down right there. And we're going to save the horns for last because if we put them on earlier, we might keep bumping into them until they knock off. Since they're going to be a lot more fragile, you want to save those for last. Except with the mouth, I do that first because it's the hardest thing to do last. Let's see. For the mouth, let's do some lines like this. So we'll make it a little more fleshy instead of scaly. If you want to continue that pattern, feel free. Just may take a few more minutes. All right, let's give it some nostrils. So with the sharp end of this popsicle stick, I'll just shove it in like that. Like that. And that's how you can breathe. And it's important to keep looking at this at different angles. Make sure it looks right doesn't look all wonky at one spot. So you could do a line like that. And these are softer scales. Ooh, I almost forgot. This would be a great spot for the stamp. So what you do is just push it right in there, and there he has little bumps. And once you add some paint on this, it'll pick up the little bumps great. Doesn't have to look amazing now, but the paint will make it look amazing. Let's see. Let's have a few fun spikes in the lower jaw right here. So I'm gonna make an edge just by squeezing it. And line, line, so on and so forth. And instead of making a rectangle, let's try to blend it in there. Oh, make a ridge. Poke, 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 poke. Then I could pinch these to make it look a little sharper. Then I'll blend it into the body. And let's use the stamp right here. Let's save this bottom for the last because it will be a lot of fun. The wrinkles are the funnest part because you just scratch it. And let's do some big scales right here. So we'll do a line and a line. And just like the smaller one, we're going to have the same idea of building up a ramp. Pinch off the tip. Not in the dirty way. This is a child-friendly class. So like for spots like this where it starts getting even, you could use your thumb to blend it back to like one shape. And then you could start worrying about the details later. But the first thing you want to worry about is the basics silhouette, how it looks what it looks like when it's far away. And right now it kind of looks like a fun messed up deer. See, we pushed that a little too hard, so let's pull it back up. And this popsicle stick's great for making these long strokes to mark where you want to bend the clay. So you see I'm pushing down right here, making it a ramp again, pinching the ends of it to make it poke out a little more. And let's say it does a fun little thing like that. So this is where the scales end and the fleshy parts begin. Squish, squish, squish. Let's do the same thing to the other side, marking out the basic idea. Squish, squish, squish. Okay, now let's worry about the texture now. So with the slidey end, I'm gonna just stroke it. And you can blend in those lumpy parts by just poking it a little more. That's all sculpting is, really, just poking something until it looks good. Poke it back with my finger if it gets a little out of hand. So to make it look scaly, I'm just doing these long strokes, very straight. goes along with the pattern. I'm going to poke a little harder there to give the idea that they're overlapping. Same over here. Maybe I'll give a crisscross one to give it some ideas of like battle damage. It is a dragon after all. And personally, I get distracted in one spot, but let's try to keep it moving. Don't focus too much on details. Just get the basic idea of like these are long strokes, these are overlapping scales. Okay, and then let's work a bit on the wrinkly lower part. So just like the scales, a few lines, but this time I'm making them a little longer, curvier. Also use your fingers, make it look a little lumpy, wrinkly. You can see with my fingernails kind of giving an overlapping effect also. And I'm liking how that is looking, so let's keep that going. The lumpiness makes it look a little more squishy. And we got a lot of the basic features done so far, so let's work on the horns. So what I'm going to do is grab another bit of the clay, squish it into a long cone, and let's do a small horn first. We'll have this one in the far back right here. Awesome. Let's do the same. And you don't have to worry about making it too even. Just kind of guess. Make these two horns about the same size. Just like that. And let's do the second bigger horns. If you really do want to worry about them getting even, what you could do is grab a clump, roll it up, and then just about the middle, cut it up. Now you got them pretty even right here. So let's grab one of those halves. Do exactly the same, but a little bigger. Let's maybe give it a little lump right there so it looks like an L. And throw that on top. Now that looks a little too big for me, so I'm going to rip that right off before I squish it in anymore. Take a bit off, and now the balls are uneven. And that looks a little better for me. So here I'm grabbing the neck again and smudging those details, but if we could go back again and worry about that. And let's do that to the other side too. It seems about the same size. Squish it right on there. Really work its way in there. And squish it back into shape. Put this head a little farther up again. Poke these teeth out a little more. Make everything's even. Believe I forgot the wrinkles on this side, so let's work on that a bit more. Let's put that detail back on. And as you keep going, you might smudge a few things. That's okay. You can go back. That's why we're being very rough with this so far. You don't have to worry about the details till the end. See like how this, I smudged it all. Just easily, a few more lines, and there it's back again. Okay, what to do about the horns? Let's keep it pretty simple. You can do a fun stagger effect, just like we were doing with the scales, but that's going to be a little hard since these are long and thin. It'll be a lot more easy to smudge them. So let me even that out a bit more. What we can do is do long strokes, pretend like it's a big tooth. So it's going to have a lot of grooves in it. And at the base, kind of blend it back into the body. And it can really feel like it's growing out of there. The same for the middle, and there may be a few hard to reach spots now. Don't worry. Just take your time to poke it all. At least once, that's my idea. If you poke it once, get your thumbprints out of it, it'll look good. Let's stroke that. Okay. So now we have the basic shape down. I think it looks pretty good. Of course, you can adjust a few parts if you really want to, but you'll smudge the details. You can spend as much time as you want. You don't have to worry about the clay drying out. And it's just a fun process of thinking, oh, I'm done. And then you'll see a spot that you missed, like right here. Just a few long and fast strokes like that. Blend it into the whole body. Let's do the nail thing again, where I just poke it and let my nail make that groove. Let's give a little more definition here. So push. Gotta match up that line again. Blend that in a little more by softly pushing that all together. Let's add a few more scales. So let's make another rectangle. And this time I'll leave it a little more flat. Don't have to worry about making the ramp. Let's do that along the lip too. Kind of make it look like a Jurassic Park dinosaur. For each tooth gets its own scale. Just give fun little details wherever you want. Okay. No, I think this looks a little plain compared to everything else. So I'm gonna carefully try to do this little V pattern. Trying not to knock out any teeth. And I should have done that from the beginning, but I did not. Now it has a little bit of an interesting texture to it. And just throughout the whole body, just stroking it just like that to make whatever detail you want. You could add a few spikes, but grabbing the clay again, like the teeth again, just roll it up into a cone, but this time half of cone, or exactly what a cone means, and squish it right in there, just like the horns too. There you got a spike. Let's do a smaller one. And I won't bother with that one spot back there since it's a little hard to reach. But we do want to add a bit of detail back there. go from the tip, pushing down into the body. You can do it the other way, but it might be a little easier to rip it off the body. And you can keep doing this for as long as you want. But once you're done, what you'll want to do is grab some alcohol ink, just like this. This is 70%. Grab a paintbrush. Dip it right in there. And brush it over. So what this is doing, it's slightly dissolving the clay and it's wiping away your fingerprints, smoothing everything out. You could also kind of use it to give a little bit of detail, like fine lines, which the paintbrush will provide. With the tip of it, just kind of round that in there a little more. And then you don't have to finish it right there. Throw the cap back on. And again, you could poke at it. See like, oh, I want a little more wrinkly right here. Give it a bit of definition again. Let's add a few more scales right here on the top lip. This time it's very soft, so I don't have to press that hard to give the detail I want. Just clean up all around. And you can spend as much time as you want on these details. When I first started, I'd go crazy obsessive with them. But now that I get a little bored easily now, so I kind of just wanted to be done. Skip to the paint because that's a fun part. But you don't have to feel rushed with this clay. And don't worry if you drop it. That's just how you learn. You have to I used to do that a lot. But you could always keep doing it. If it smushes, you could put it back in place and add the detail right back in there. And you see, even with this simple popsicle stick, we're getting these very fine lines just by overlapping the same line. Kind of trying to blend everything out now. Add a few more lines like that. Let's see, where did I put that stamp? Here it is. Just gently touch it all over it again. Then again, making sure I like how it'll look on a wall. Plank on like that. Let's see, from this head on, you can tell one horn's bigger than the other, but I'm not going to worry about that. Let's see, let's make this a little more smooth. And you just go over any area and redo it however you like. Now about the baking. So on the box right here, it says, what I believe, 275 for 15 minutes per half inch. So what I like to do is most ovens are a little unpredictable. If you put it on 275, it might overcook it. So I usually put it at 250 because that's pretty safe. You might find with your oven you might actually have to go over that to get it to harden. But what you'll do is you grab some foil, wrap it around it very loosely like a burrito, or a potato I'd say is better, so it evenly cooks. And then you'll let it heat up. It says preheat the oven sometimes, but I like to throw it in, turn it on, and that way it slowly heats up. And then once it's done for 15 or 30, for this, I'd say do at least 20 minutes. Then you'll let it cool down in the oven, because if you take it out too quickly, some parts of it might still be warm and it'll unevenly cool, and it might crack that way. Which, in case, you always have super glue. You can glue them right back on if they fall off, which is a great thing about this clay. But usually you want to avoid that. At least I'd recommend to avoid that. And then what else do I want to say? Next week I'll be showing how you paint it, so you could take all the time you want till then, how you sculpting it however you want. Not all of them have to look like this, but you get the general idea of if you want a spike, grab a piece, roll it to the clone, pop it right on, then blend it right in there, and so forth with how you want to focus on this basic silhouette first and then worry about detail later, because you'll have all day to do that. But I'm gonna call this done for now. I may come back in a week or a few days and poke at it in the way I want. But I'm pretty happy with this so far. I hope you could follow along, and if you have any questions, go ahead and ask me. And thank you for watching.